Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive right into a seriously fascinating ancient mystery straight out of the epic Mahabharata. It's a story that kicks off in a deeply sacred yet shockingly abandoned setting. We'll be exploring a tale of immense spiritual power, terrifying monsters, and the severe consequences of distraction. So let's just dive right in.
So, picture this for a second. Imagine you arrive at a collection of the most incredibly holy, spiritually cleansing waters on the face of the earth. But as you look around, you notice something is just deeply unsettling. It's completely silent. The waters are entirely deserted. The big question we're tackling today is why would virtuous, pious ascetics avoid these specific sacred regions like the plague? I mean, what could possibly keep them away from such immense spiritual value?
Section 1. The Shunned Sacred Waters. An eerie calm on the Southern Ocean.
Well, this is the exact scene our protagonist, Arjuna, the great bull of Bharata's race, steps right into. He travels down to the banks of the Southern Ocean, which is usually a place absolutely packed with ascetics living in the surrounding areas. But he notices 5 specific regions of water that are entirely shunned. And honestly, the sheer pedigree of these waters makes this completely baffling. Just look at these names: Agastya, Saubhadra, and Paloma. All of them are renowned for their great holiness. Then you have Karendama, which is so incredibly propitious that bathing in it literally yields the spiritual fruits of a horse sacrifice. And finally, Bharadwaja, known as the Great Washer of Sins. These aren't just puddles, They are absolute spiritual gold mines. And yet, Arjuna finds them completely uninhabited.
Naturally, Arjuna approaches the pious men who are kind of hovering around the perimeter, and he asks them with joined hands, "Why, O ascetics, are these 5 sacred waters shunned?" And they reply really grimly. They warn Arjuna that 5 large crocodiles dwell in those waters, and they actively take away any ascetics who happen to bathe in them. So yeah, that is the dark secret keeping all the holy men at bay.
Section 2. Arjuna's daring plunge. Ignoring the warnings.
Now, if you know anything at all about Arjuna, the strong-armed Dhananjaya, the foremost of all men endued with might, you know for a fact he doesn't just walk away from a challenge. Completely ignoring the locals who are desperately trying to dissuade him, he marches up to the excellent sacred water called Saubhadra and just suddenly plunges right in for a bath. But the trap springs instantly. As soon as that tiger among men hits the water, a massive crocodile seizes him by the leg. Arjuna doesn't panic though. Relying on his immense strength, he grabs the struggling ranger of the water and forcibly drags the terrifying beast out of the deep right up onto the dry shore.
Section 3. The crocodile's transformation. A startling reveal on the shore.
Because what happens next is just completely unexpected. Down in the water, he was wrestling this dangerous man-eating crocodile. But the very second Arjuna drags the beast to shore, it transforms instantly into a charming, incredibly beautiful damsel of celestial form. She is absolute shining in her beauty, her complexion, and she's wearing these beautiful ornaments. It is just a total mind-bending juxtaposition.
You can imagine Arjuna's sheer confusion at this, right? With a pleased but totally bewildered heart, he looks at this radiant celestial being and asks, "Who art thou, O beautiful one? Why hast thou been a ranger of the waters? Why also didst thou commit such a dreadful sin?" Because, well, he knows that ending up as a monster in a sacred pool doesn't just happen by accident.
Section 4. The Apsara's temptation. Vargas's tragic backstory.
So the damsel starts to explain her true identity, and in doing so, she reveals the whole origin of the mysterious shunned waters. She reveals herself to be an Apsara, a celestial nymph who once sported in the celestial woods. Her name is Varga, and she mentions that she is very dear to the celestial treasurer Kuvera. But she wasn't alone in this. She introduces her 4 companions, all incredibly handsome and capable of going everywhere at will: Sarabhai, Samichi, Udvuda, and Lata. And one day, all 5 of them were just journeying together toward the abode of Kuvera.
But on their way, they were completely stopped in their tracks by this awe-inspiring sight. They beheld an exceedingly handsome Brahmana of rigid vows sitting in complete solitude studying the Vedas. Varga recalls it vividly. She says, "The whole forest seemed to be covered with his ascetic splendor. He seemed to have illuminated the whole region like the sun himself. His ascetic devotion and his wonderful beauty were just so captivating that the Apsaras decided to alight in that region for one specific purpose. They wanted to disturb his meditations.
So we end up with this ultimate clash of intentions. Varga and her 4 companions approach the Brahmana all at once. They sing, they smile, they use literally all of their celestial charms to tempt him. But the Brahmana, he sets not his heart even once upon them. His mind is just entirely fixed on pure meditation. This youth of great energy possesses an impenetrable, unbreakable focus, and he simply does not suffer his heart to waver.
Section 5. The Brahmana's Curse. The Cost of Breaking Focus.
Now, the Apsaras thought this was just a playful game, a simple little interruption. But the Brahmana reacted with overwhelming wrath. The glance he cast upon them was one of sheer anger. Staring right at the 5 beautiful celestial beings who dared to interrupt his sacred study, he delivered this incredibly dramatic and severe curse. He proclaimed, "Becoming crocodiles, range ye the waters for 100 years." And just like that, these 5 beautiful companions were condemned to become the terrifying, ascetic-snatching monsters lurking in those sacred waters. They completely transformed the holiest of places into the most shunned.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. We've seen exactly how the sacred waters were shunned, we saw the bravery of Arjuna, and we learned about the terrible price paid by the Apsaras for being a distraction. But I want you to think about this. In a world full of deliberate distractions, where things are constantly singing, smiling, and trying to pull our attention away, are we guarding our focus with the unbreakable devotion of the Brahmana? Because the power of concentration is immense, and the consequences of letting ourselves become the distraction can be pretty severe. Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer, and I really hope this ancient mystery leaves you with something powerful to chew on today.